Hello everyone and welcome to the United Stand. A huge, a massive, a colossal game for us this evening. Manchester United versus Copenhagen, or should I say Copenhagen versus Manchester United. A must-win game. If we don't win this game, then coming out of group stage might be all but over. And today I have with me our very own Kev, who is joining me. Kev, I'm very excited. Yeah. Are you excited?
You gotta be.
I don't know why.
How can you not be excited for a United game? It's Champions League night.
Yes.
This is what we're here for.
Yes,
the
that's
music,
right.
the lights, everything about it. An evening game, but it makes it more the all-important, like you say, because this is really must-win. You know, we were talking about, you know, the weekend Fulham being a must-win game. Now we're on to Copenhagen, which on the grand scheme of things, you'd have looked at this group at the start of it. Yes, you would expect Bayern Munich to progress from it, but we kind of look at it and I can't help but think we've probably been the worst team in this group, which is a bit soul-destroying.
Yeah, that's right.
Tonight, it's all about trying to redeem ourselves. We need to be giving ourselves that chance, you know, for final game week to be progressing beyond this and into the knockout stage.
Yeah, we started off the week on the United Stand and in the world of Manchester United a bit interesting, you know. Players, presenters, not to mention anyone, but it's been interesting. But look, we're all moved on from that. We've gone past it, and now it's the time for everybody to come together, the players to come together and perform, and the fans to get behind them. I've been seeing loads of videos, loads of pictures of the away fans that have travelled to the game, and it's just very, very nice to see. And I'm sure they'll be getting behind the players. One thing that I want to touch on straight off the back before I dive into, you know, all of the players to watch, and Beth will be joining us as well from the Copenhagen Stadium. One thing I want to touch on is the last game that we played against Copenhagen. Two players specifically who actually, you could say, turned up or saved us was Harry Maguire, Kev, and Andre Onana, right? Two players, both of whom have had bad periods in Manchester United, some longer than others. But they both turned up on that game in terms of saving us. Harry Maguire scored the goal from Eriksen's pass, and Andre Onana with the massive, huge, crucial, pivotal save. And he not only saved that game, but he could have just saved our time in the Champions League, right? Yeah. How big will they be this game? Guessing and hoping that they start. I'm guessing Andre Onana's going to start, right? Yeah. It's the Champions League man. How important are they going to be?
Very, very important. And Arne, probably rightly so, you can say, coming for criticism, did make mistakes. He was big enough in the game against Bayern Munich to hold his hands up. He held his hands up. He took accountability for the mistakes that he made. Harry Maguire's been a breath of fresh air, I will say. Now, I've been on here, I have criticised him, and I think fairly so. You do get some of these United fans, it's get behind the players and that. I've done that. You know, Harry Maguire's not been at the club for, you know, 6 months. So, you know, I will allow anybody a honeymoon period, bedding in at Manchester United. Not got an issue with it. The same way that I had it with Onana. I'm not going to write off Onana after 3 or 4 games, couple of mistakes. I've always said in his defence with Onana as well that he has not played with a settled back four yet, or the back four that I believe that Erik ten Hag wants to implement at Manchester United. So in that sense, not an issue, but it's certainly it's kind of redemption day for Harry Maguire. You have to look at him out in the cold. I mean, having the captaincy taken off him, and for the manager basically to not go on record as saying he wanted to sell him, but I mean, it must be tough as a player to know that you're not kind of wanted. But listen, he's stuck around, and at this moment in time, you probably have to say you're kind of glad he did. Because, you know, we've had injuries, he's coming in to fill in. He's giving the managers something to think about. Yeah,
you know, Kev, I always like to go when I'm having thoughts that, oh, this player's been awful or this player's been bad or whatever reason. I like to go and watch documentaries on players. I like to watch documentaries on football clubs. And I was watching some last night. And one thing that we are very easy to forget is there may be things off the pitch that are affecting players' performances. And it could be the smallest thing that is having the biggest impact on their performance. Harry Maguire is someone who's been talked about all his time in Manchester United. Let's be honest. He's been the topic of discussion for almost every Man United fan, every article and whatever it is. He was supposed to be sold this summer. And you're 100% right. How does a player feel inside performing for a team that was so almost desperate to sell him, and they were shopping for a centre-back.
You could see that, Faz, in his performances. I mean, he has had dog's abuse. Now, you can say rightly so. For me, he's not really done himself any favours. We're talking about when he was going through a bad time, he's scoring own goals. He's basically assisting the opposition, and that breeds nervousness in your back four. If you've got one weak link in that back four, then it breeds through all of the team, especially the back four. But listen, I don't want to go too over the top on Harry Maguire. I think he's still got a hell of a lot to prove. You do take into consideration the price tag. Listen, I think he's doing all right this moment in time. He is putting in performances. I'm happy to see that. You would maybe argue, why did we not see this earlier on in his Manchester United career? But he's doing it now. If we're talking about the now, I haven't got an issue with it. It doesn't breed the uncertainty where I look at this moment in time. Sometimes back in the past, I hear Harry Maguire's name on the team sheet and I'm a bit, doesn't fill you with confidence. I'm not as bothered, about that anymore now when I see it, because he's putting some, should we say, heroic performances.
Yeah.
He's certainly not one to shirk a tackle, but looking more long-term, I don't think he's the answer to our problems. I think we know deep down that when Martinez returns from injury and you've got a fully fit Varane, if we can ever get him fit, that they would probably be the preferred centre-back pairing under Ten Hag.
Harry Maguire's had a goal and an assist this season already, which is obviously colossal and very helpful for us. But Andre Onana is another player, right? Such a shaky start. In one hand, he's possibly, some would say, cost us, games. But on the other hand, he's just saved us one as well with the Copenhagen one, and he'll be massive. And he's made some good saves the last game as well. We're not seeing a whole load of the football that we were expecting from him, and that's probably because the team itself is not performing how we're supposed to be performing. But what are your expectations from him today? Do you think he'll be making some big saves, considering we're away and the way they played when they came over to our ground? Yeah,
I think coming over here, they obviously brought a good crowd with them. They had the tails up, and they caused Manchester United issues. You've just mentioned there, for the Onana, the penalty save. It's one of them moments where you look back in a season, and I'm not saying it defies Onana, but the save is so huge for his confidence. He will have read in the media what's been written about him, and he knows deep down himself. He's a top keeper. He knows he's had a rough start. David De Gea had a rough start, Manchester United. A lot of people forget that. David De Gea made mistakes. Yep. Teams were targeting him because he wasn't that big. They were standing on him. And you have to become streetwise to that. The Premier League is totally different. You look at De Gea moving from was it Spain at the time. Yeah. You've got the same now with Onana, moving from Serie A. The tactics are totally different. You look at Serie A, it is based very, very defensive based, a bit like a game of chess and that, where the Premier League is just 100 miles an hour. So from Onana's point of view, he's probably walked in and thought, what is all this about? But again, I do reiterate the point that he needs to play with a settled back four. But recently, performances, you can't knock it. He's made big saves, even Fulham at the weekend, some good saves. Yeah, some people will argue and say, well, he should be making these saves. But the main thing is that the scoreline at the weekend, he's kept the ball out the net, a clean sheet, and for keepers, that's your bread and butter. This is, if you're a striker scoring goals, is your makeup. This is Onana. This is the thing he gets to celebrate, walking off United at 1 and a clean sheet on a personal level. You need to build that confidence. So hopefully the Copenhagen save is a kind of turning point where it kickstarts his Manchester United career. Yeah, obviously last season in his former club, Inter Milan, he had a fantastic Champions League, playing in a settled team as well. In a settled team. So we know that there is a player in there. We know that he's a top keeper, and he's had a shaky start, but that's not the end of the world. He's got probably long time in Manchester United, and he'll have loads of moments to prove himself. But a player that I wanted to touch on is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's just come back into Manchester United's squad. Obviously, we've missed him. Some would say, and it's an argument and it's a discussion, some would say Diogo Dalot has been our most consistent player. And I don't mean the best. I don't mean he's been our best player. I mean, from a scale of 1 to 10, there's been loads of 6s, loads of 7s, loads of 4s, 5s.
So he might have been in that range of someone who's been a 6 consistently and someone who's not been an 8 and a 4 and a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Bissaka coming in now, what do you think? How do you think Manchester United kind of get boosted by his availability coming in?
I think it's a huge lift. I mean, in the last Fulham game, when I did the preview to it, the build-up, you know, I put Wan-Bissaka down as my one to watch. You know, I was hoping back from injury that he would get the start. He come in and it just never looked like he'd been away. You know, I love that in a player. You know, he has been injured for a while here. And you see some players, like let's say Casemiro, for instance, if he's injured or he's been suspended, he comes back in, he looks leggy. It almost takes him 3 or 4 games before he hits his stride again. Whereas Wan-Bissaka, straight back in, no nonsense. You know exactly what you're going to get from him. The mental recovery tackles he does are just insane. You know, you never feel that Wan-Bissaka is actually going to make a foul. You know, even if he's tracking back, if you beat him, he will always hound you down. He's done it against the best in the business. You know, there is a running joke that I always say. The amount of times I've been on the United stand after, you know, big games, you know, against, let's say, an Mbappe, a Sterling when he was prime Sterling, the jobs that Wan-Bissaka has done on him, you know, I went on record as before saying he reaches into his pocket after the game, he finds a set of car keys, Haribo's and Raheem Sterling, and he's just pocketed so many top players, and one-to-one marking-wise, you know, I know Kyle Walker's up there in sort of world football as being one of the best kind of man markers or, you know, duels. Wan-Bissaka, he is up there somewhere as well. He's definitely in the conversation. He just fills me with so much confidence getting him back. And as I said in the last video that I did as well, I just cannot wait to get Luke Shaw back. That'll give it a lift. And just getting this competition for places at the back, because like you rightly say, Dalot has been consistent. Not that, you know, like you say, that the scores that these players are getting every game, they're not pulling up trees. But he has had a bit of a run in this team because Wan-Bissaka hasn't been there to challenge him. Yeah. And I've got no issue with Dalot now playing on the left, Wan-Bissaka on the right. It certainly gives us more balance to that team, and especially on the right-hand side as well. Yeah,
I think especially because Wan-Bissaka coming in also helps the fact that Diogo Dalot can play left back. Yeah. So it's another variation instead of having the likes of Amrabat playing left back or Lindelof playing left back or even Reguilon. I think Diogo Dalot will be a better left back than Sergio Reguilon. I think that as well in a Manchester United system because he's played with the players. But overall, we've not really had a cohesive performance yet. It's been scrapey wins, and Ten Hag is finding it difficult to find that spark in that team that works. I'm still thinking, other than that Palace Cup game, where we've scored a goal where it was like, you know what, that was a well-constructed goal. I think the Galatasaray game for me was fantastic, and that's another player I'm going to touch on, which is Rasmus Højlund, the man leading our line, and it's not Anthony Martial. Rasmus has had 3 goals in the Champions League, which is massive, if you ask me, for a young lad like him at 20 years of age. He's absolutely doing really, really well. But I'm going to stop there because I'm going to do the team.
Come on, bring it on.
Ladies and gentlemen, so get ready for this. Starting off in our back line is actually, hold on, have you sent it to me? Can you send it to me, please? Oh, okay. It is all out already. Let me just get it up. So, yeah, it is Andre Onana in between the sticks. We've got a partnership centre-back of Maguire and Johnny Evans. Wan-Bissaka, as we were just talking about him, is on the right-back position. We've got Diogo Dalot on the left-back position. We've got Scott McTominay, Bruno Fernandes, and Christian Eriksen in midfield. And surprise, surprise, Marcus Rashford starts. He is 100% ready. Rasmus Højlund starts as well. And Alejandro Garnacho starts for Manchester United against Copenhagen. Kev, give me your initial thoughts.
So looking at it, what's that one change from Fulham at the weekend?
No Anthony.
Yeah, no Anthony. I cannot... Listen, the one thing we were just talking about Wan-Bissaka then, I was going to say on that right-hand side, whoever then plays ahead of him, I said this at the weekend, it gives them a bit more freedom to move, you know, in the forward area of the pitch, because you know you've got Wan-Bissaka, who is just so solid at the back. But obviously Rashford coming back in for Anthony, I can't complain with that. Anthony was awful at the weekend. You know, I've had me say on that. The one that I will say that I am a little surprised at, I know he's playing back in his home country, maybe Eriksen. I'm not sure 100% what is going on with Amrabat. I was thinking away game, something that we need to win, maybe an extra bit of protection in front of the back four there, but no, right. I'll go with that.
I'm going to ask all of you on the chat, and I love to get everybody involved in the show. You need to feel like you're part of the show. So first and foremost, tell me in the comments in one word what you feel when you see that lineup. What is your initial thought? Just one word. That's all I want to know. And if we can produce it, if we can get a poll between 1 to 10, maybe do like 1 to 3, 3 to 6, and 6 to 9 and 10. What do you score the lineup as well? How are you feeling?
On a scale of how happy you are with it.
We've got the bench for you all as well. The bench is Altay Bayındır, Tom Heaton, so 2 goalkeepers, Victor Lindelof, Sergio Reguilon, as our godfather would say, Rafael Varane, Sofian Amrabat, Omari Forson, Hannibal, Mount, Facundo Pellistri, Anthony, and Anthony Martial. So that's the bench. It's a decent bench. It's got Varane in there, Hannibal, Martial, Pellistri, Amrabat. So we've got some strong players. We've also got, you know, Reguilon in there and Lindelof. But some strong names in there.
Varane's the other kind of strange one at this moment in time. You know, if he's say fully fit, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, is he not fit enough to play? Or
very interesting.
Is Ten Hag now putting his trust in this Evans-Maguire partnership, which, you know, a year ago, if you'd have said a year down the line, you're going to be playing in the Champions League, you're going to have Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire playing centre-back for you. You know, the men in white coats would have been coming after you.
That's right.
You know, they've been like, what is going on here? But that is the situation that we are in at the minute. And, you know, I don't want to take the mick out of them, because they are doing the business on the pitch. You know, clean sheets at this moment in time speak for themselves. I spoke earlier about confidence, so why break up this partnership? But Varane is... It's a strange one at the minute, really is. The
poll is down and up, so please get your vote. Kev, what would you vote this lineup out of 10?
I go at the happier scale. Apart from
7 to 9, you would say?
Yeah, I would do.
Okay.
I totally agree.
I think I would give it 7 to 9.
With the inclusion of Marcus Rashford. That's someone who's obviously got a huge point to prove.
A surprising result for you here.
Yeah.
60% of the viewers, and we've got nearly 7,000 people watching, 60% of the viewers have voted it between 4 and 6. That's very interesting.
What's that, sitting on the fence?
I wouldn't...
Midway?
Midway, but they're not happy because a lot of people are saying, why is Varane not in there and why is it Maguire and Evans? I hate doing this. You know me personally. I hate point scoring. I hate saying, I did this, I did that, I said this. I really do. As much as I do say, I really do. But I remember when Johnny Evans was brought in for training. And I specifically at the time put a tweet out saying, I know my club. We know our club. And this is almost like saying, forget a centre-back. You don't get, no disrespect to Johnny Evans, but you don't get a 35-year-old centre-back to come in and train. And I'll tell you why. And Ricky will probably be having a go at me over this, but I'll tell you why. One, because that's not building. You're not building for the future.
Yeah.
Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire and Lindelof and Rafa Varane, 4 centre-backs I've mentioned you, all of them are 30 years and above. I think Lindelof might be 29 if I'm not mistaken. But the average age of our centre-backs is 30 years and above. That's not a building.
No.
You want the likes of Martinez, Todibos, 25, 26, so they can play a few years in Manchester United at the peak of their career. That's called building. That's an organisation. You're building a foundation. And I knew that when Ten Hag is thinking something, he's going to say it, and when he says it, he's going to do it. And what he did is he thought Johnny Evans was good in training. He mentioned it, that Johnny Evans impressed him, and long behold, Johnny Evans is now in our starting lineup. But what do you think Rafa Varane is thinking, Kev, looking at this?
It really, really is a strange one. I'm a firm believer in if they are fit enough to be on the bench, they are fit enough to be starting games. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Is it Erik ten Hag's 100% faith in this partnership? I have to go down that road at the minute. Maybe he's just thinking if it's not broke, don't fix it. But it's such a huge, huge game. You live and die by the decisions that you make as a football manager. You know, if for some reason we are beat this evening, you know, and defensively we make mistakes or we are awful, ultimately the questions after this game will be aimed at Erik ten Hag. He will have to deal with that because he is selecting this team. But at the same stage, I will say, I'm sure Johnny Evans didn't sign this contract at Manchester United and expect to play anywhere near the amount of games that he has played at this moment in time. You know, we have had bad injuries. Johnny Evans is coming in and doing a job at the minute, but totally agree. I mean, looking more long term, he's certainly not the future. And you could say that about a few players now. You know, is there now question marks over Varane, his future at Manchester United? Because he won't be happy sat on the bench.
Yeah.
Or is it an instruction? Is he saying, Gaffer, I'm not ready yet. You know, I need a couple more weeks. The only way you are going to become match fit is by playing games, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the things I want to say is with players like Rafael Varane, obviously Casemiro's not here, he's got an injury, he'll be out for a few weeks. But the thing with Rafael Varane is you must get those players to buy into you as a manager. Imagine the changing room he's been in, Rafa Varane. Yeah. He's got numerous Champions League, a World Cup. He's been in changing room with Ballon d'Or winners, numerous other big managers. To have a player like that on your side and to believe in you, not only does it help you with the player, but it also helps you with team building because he's a senior, very senior player. I think he's the most probably established player in terms of football in Manchester United, considering he's got a World Cup and numerous Champions League, next to Casemiro as well. Yeah. And you need players like that to be a voice for you in the changing room, especially when things are like this at the moment. I don't know if it's something to do with the manager and his relationship, because again, this is not malicious rumor. Before someone puts it out there, this is an open discussion between fans. Yes. We have all seen the reports, Kev, about you know, there's changing room issues with minutes, issues with injuries. Maybe it's a similar situation to when Erik ten Hag had the thing with Martial, where he was almost losing trust. He was like, if I keep playing you, you're just going to get injured. And he was getting injured during warm-ups and stuff. So it's almost the manager losing faith just as much as the player feeling like he's not getting minutes, right? Yeah.
I just find it so strange at this moment in time. Like you said, you touched on he is a huge player for Manchester United. One of the most decorated alongside Casemiro. And the thing you have to look at, you know, last season I thought they were fantastic, Casemiro and Varane. But again, you just talked about long term, and I don't believe them players were kind of, you know, it was always going to be short term, but it was getting that spine to the team, which we've been missing for so long. So when you've got Varane, Casemiro, and now you've got like Højlund up top, it gives you that kind of spine to the team, a kind of backbone. But at this moment in time, he is getting nowhere near it. Yeah. And I cannot put my finger on it because for me personally, if I'm Manchester United manager, as long as Varane is fully fit, if he's 90% fit, he's in there because he's a ball-carrying centre-back. He's just so, you know, confident on the ball. I can't get my head around it.
Yeah. A couple of super chats that I'm going to address quickly. If you want to have your opinions heard and you want to make any points, make sure you get your chats in as well, and I'll bring them up. The first one, Jake Mack, who's been a member for 3 months. Thank you very much for your loyalty. He says, how far do you and Kev think we can get if we progress out the group stage? Very good question. Considering the other teams that are currently top of their group and then the next round and everything, I don't think we make it out the next round. No, after the next knockout stages, I don't think. But miracles happen. And I was the same Faz that sat here last season and said, we'll go toe-to-toe with anyone. We've got Erik ten Hag. We're Solution FC. Don't forget, you lot, I said Solution FC. I think if we start going on a good run of games and we actually get out the group stage, funny things happen in football. We might beat Copenhagen, Galatasaray and Bayern. You know, it might happen. And that might give the players a huge injection of confidence. I think maybe we might have a chance to go past the next round of knockout.
I think knockout football is totally different as well. You know, you look at trying to navigate through the group stages, but when you go into a two-legged game, it's a different animal altogether, isn't it? You know, you're looking at planning, you're looking at staying in the tie after the first leg. At the same time, listen, it is a worry of mine, and I've looked at it as a Manchester United fan. It's not this kind of theory where I look at it and step back and go, well, what's the point? What's the point of us getting through to the knockout phases? Because whoever we beat, you know, they're just going to knock us out. Because otherwise, what's the point? What is the point of being a supporter? You have to kind of live and have this kind of hope, because that's what a supporter does. So, of course, I want to see us get through. But at the same time, if I was betting, for instance, I wouldn't bet on us getting too far. And I know that sounds very, very negative. By God, I hope that we do get through. But, you know, I'm just being realistic.
Yeah.
You know, at this moment in time, you just mentioned before that the Crystal Palace game in the Carabao Cup, it's the one game in my head that I can think of that we've actually played all right in this season.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I can't name one. We've got no run of form.
Yeah.
You know, confidence has seemed a bit low, and you kind of look at it and I think this team is not really capable at this minute of winning 5 games in a row, 10 games in a row. We're just like a box of chocolates, aren't we?
I think for me, not in terms of how we played kind of thing, but I personally definitely enjoyed the Galatasaray and the Bayern game because there was just loads of goals. And it's nice to see Man United score goals because we don't score enough, especially in Bayern Munich game, 4-3, 3 goals against Bayern Munich. If that scoreline is put up and you didn't watch the game, you'd think, what a game it was, right? Even the Galatasaray game, it was almost end-to-end. Yeah. And I enjoyed that Rasmus Højlund goal against Galatasaray, you know, him winning the ball.
Beautiful.
It's just, I was in the stadium, I felt like a kid again, like last season, you know? I remember when Marcus Rashford scored against Liverpool, and there's a clip of me when I said, I felt like I was going to be unconscious when he threw the corner flag and he celebrated. And I felt like that when Rasmus Højlund scored, because I just want to feel like a child in the stadium when Man United score. There's a few more super chats. Let me just bring it up. Dan, thank you very much for becoming a member on the United Stands Members Club. Liam says we're too open with this lineup. I think he means that. DN Vlogs says, no Varane, don't know why. Is he done at United? And if you hold that thought, if he's done at United, that's one centre-back. Maguire was supposed to be sold. That's a second centre-back. Lindelof was supposed to go. That's a third centre-back.
Johnny Evans probably
and
won't.
Johnny Evans. So that's 4 centre-backs that we're probably going to need to replace come this window.
Yeah, where do we get the money to do that?
And where do we get the money to do that? Do we go and get a...
We're going to have to start checking down the back of the sofa, have a whip round, send it into him, aren't we? It's worrying, it really is. You know, last season, I've said it many a times that I felt like Erik ten Hag overachieved. 2 cup finals, winning a Carabao Cup, finishing in the top 4. And I've talked about expectation, you know, it's risen so high now. But the injuries that he's had, and now when you start to look at this squad and when you start talking about where he needs to recruit and where he needs to strengthen, it is going to take a hell of a lot. And I think that's why a lot of United fans have, you know, not lost, well, I will say lost faith in the fact of, you know, this Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in, the supposed money that's going to come into Manchester United and where that's going to go, the investment, and it doesn't even touch the sides. It really doesn't. You know, under the current ownership, where are we replacing centre-backs like that from? We need a midfielder, you know, if we're going to bring somebody into as backup to Højlund. You know, he can't do it all on his own. It's
I'm gonna ask all of you, I think 8,000 of you are watching, so thank you very much everyone for watching. My question to you all, and get involved in the comments, get interactive, who would you swap in this team for a different player from the bench? So the bench, for all of you, you can see the graphics of the players, the starting 11. The bench, we've got Binder, Heaton, Lindelof, Reguilon, Varane, Amrabat, Forson, Hannibal, Mount, Pellistri, Anthony, Martial. So if it was you, who would you swap for who? Comment down below, because I want to, like I say, I like to get interactive and I love speaking to the fans and see what other people are thinking. Levi says, maybe Varane is just struggling more than we realize with injury, and they're being very careful to get him playing as much as possible.
I think it's an interesting point, that, because I did say earlier, unless Varane himself is maybe saying to Ten Hag, and it would make sense, because at the same time I've just mentioned that Varane is one of the most decorated, probably appearance-wise as well at Manchester United. You know, he's out there, or up there, should I say. So this man will know his body, you know, at his age as well. That there have been players in the past, you know, that know their bodies better than anybody else. And maybe he is just slightly holding back and saying, listen, don't rush me back. You know, if you rush me back, I might break down. Or do you go down the route of this psychological thing that we've seen with Anthony Martial, where it was injury after injury? But Varane will know his body better than anybody else.
Yeah, I'm getting loads of people saying Amrabat for McTominay, and also loads of people saying Varane for Johnny Evans as well. Just a couple more super chats. I'll just address them before I bring Beth in. Dennis says, what's up with Varane? That's what we were discussing. And Phil says, we don't need Varane against Copenhagen. So Phil thinks we don't actually need
Well, we will only discover that later on after the match.
In a few hours' time. But Beth is with us. There's nearly 9,000 of you watching. Beth, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you are doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Greetings,
loud and
Beth.
clear. Yeah, greetings. First off, I would say don't forget my chocolates, please. Don't forget them. But Beth, loads of away fans, right, who have travelled for this game. I know you, Ryan and Ricky as well have been enjoying your evenings with some of these fans. How's it been? What's the mood like?
The mood is good. To be fair, I had some really good conversations with a lot of United fans last night. And to be honest with you, I'm going to be really, really honest. The majority, if I had to say the majority of people that I speak to are really not happy with the way that we're playing at the moment, have question marks over our style of play, what the manager's doing with his signings, the likes of Mason Mount. Sorry, the guy speaking over me, but there's a lot of question marks at Erik ten Hag right now. I think a lot of people back him and they want to continue to back him, but there are people in doubt. And Copenhagen in this stadium in the Champions League have only ever lost 2 games. They've got a fantastic record here. Their fans are amazing. It's going to be a really tough game. I just want to say quickly, because I heard you speaking about it before I came on, Raphael Varane, I was just speaking to a journalist in the press area, very reliable, and they were saying that Erik ten Hag and Varane's not been completely fit for a while. And I don't know if Varane was completely happy with Erik ten Hag saying about tactical reasons in the City game, when in reality he had a bit of a knock. And the whole point was against Fulham to get him perfectly fit for tonight. But again, he's not starting tonight. So that's what I got told. It might not be right, but it's an interesting one with Varane. For me, from what I've heard, he can't really get himself completely fit, which is a little bit worrying. But that might be wrong. That's just what I heard.
Yeah. Beth, obviously the starting lineup is out. I'm guessing you've seen the starting lineup already yourself.
Yes.
Are you happy? I've asked the fans who are watching us from all across the world to get involved, interactive, and the rating that they've given is between 4 and 6, and they're saying, majority of people are saying Amrabat for Mount and Varane for Evans. Well, obviously we know that Varane's not been fully fit, but Amrabat for McTominay and no Mason Mount again. What are your thoughts with that starting lineup?
People aren't going to like me, and it was funny because me and Ricky have been having a few drinks each evening, a few too many drinks, if I'm being honest with you. And he was saying, Beth, I don't want you to start getting sick on the forums because I've opened your eyes about McTominay. People aren't going to like it. And I was like, Ricky, I can have my own opinion. Everyone's allowed their opinion. We were talking about it, but for anyone wanting Amrabat to start over McTominay tonight, I like Amrabat. I would ask the question why. McTominay played well against Fulham. He certainly was one of our better players. It wasn't anything great, but no one was against Fulham. Amrabat hasn't played well in his last 3 appearances really for us. He did well against City, to be fair, in the first half, and that change was noticeable. But Amrabat's not exactly coming to Man United and lit it up. McTominay scored a goal that should have stood against Fulham. He had a good game. I think Erik ten Hag's right to reward him with another start in the team. The team won. You don't really change that much for a winning team. And then Mason Mount is a massive question mark. If I would have got to ask a question in the press conference, it was going to be, what is Mason Mount's best position? How did he get into this team? You've paid 60 million. You've given him the number 7. And it doesn't look like there's a place for him in the team. It's worrying for Mason Mount more than anything, because Amrabat will get back into this team. He's good enough. He will. But Mason Mount, I just don't really see where he's going to slot in, to be honest with you. I like him as well. I think he could come into this team, but Erik ten Hag just really seems like he doesn't want to use him right now.
Beth, I was just going to say, obviously one change from Saturday's game at Fulham. That's on the right-hand side. It's Rashford coming in for Anthony. can't have any complaints about that, can we? I don't think there'll be too many people complaining about it, considering the performance level that Anthony put in at Craven Cottage on Saturday.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right, Kev. I think Ten Hag finally, too late to be honest, has dropped Anthony, and he needed to do it. We've seen Maguire's playing well at the moment, but we've seen under Solskjaer when we know Maguire needed to be dropped, but it was his £80 million signing. He just never did it. But Eric Ten Hag actually decided to drop his major signing tonight, and it needed to be done. He was offering absolutely nothing, and it was an awful performance against Fulham. And I like to back our players, and I was speaking to a lot of fans out here in Copenhagen as well. I've not found one person who thinks he's good enough, not one. Everybody is like, he needs to be on the bench. He's just not hitting the ground running right now, and hopefully he will, but I've not really seen too many signs. I would have personally had Pellistri coming on the right. He deserved it. He deserved to get rewarded after still be able to cross the ball. It's his favourite right foot, and hopefully after him biting back in the week, he can put a good performance together.
Beth, listen, thank you very, very much. I think the network is being a little bit laggy from where you are.
Okay, sorry guys.
But it's okay. But tell me your score prediction. What do you feel like the score prediction is going to be? Because, you know, Starman Andre Onana saved us against Copenhagen game. Harry Maguire scored. Evans has been decent. You know, Rasmus Højlund, 3 goals in the Champions League. There's some positives to take, let's be honest. So what are your score predictions?
My score prediction, I'm going with 2-1 to Manchester United. I think it'll be a really tough, edgy game. I think we'll win in like the 88th minute. And I'm going with Rashford and Højlund to score for us. And yeah, we've got to win this game, but their fans, I don't know if you can see.
Oh, quality.
They're already going mad. So yeah, it's an amazing atmosphere. But thank you for having me, everyone. And I'll be watching the forum later.
Enjoy.
No worries. Enjoy, Beth, and good luck to you. Thank you. Thank you. Big shout out to Beth. She got some great content for us as well, and for the community. Where she went into the changing room, she walked down the tunnel, they got pitch side as well, so it was really, really nice to see. And I just want to quickly take a moment, firstly, to thank all the fans of United Stand who watch from all across the world from different time zones. I just wanted to say it, you know, it's probably 3 a.m. in some corner of the world. Over the last 48 hours, I've had loads of DMs from people, fans all across the world, and they tell me, Faz, I watch you at 2 a.m., I watch Kev, I watch Ricky at this o'clock. So to all of you guys, please don't forget that we don't forget you. We always, you know, have you, and thank you and appreciate your support for the United Stand. So all of the people watching, thank you very much. Kev, let's move on to our players to watch.
Yes.
I forgot yours, but I think we both picked Marcus Rashford, right?
Yes.
We both picked Marcus Rashford. If we can get the graphics up as well. Tell me first, why Marcus Rashford?
I've picked Marcus Rashford totally based on a lack of form, a lack of confidence. He's obviously had this slight injury that he was out for, and I just think that the heights of last season, I know Ricky's been on here and said that he spiked last season and now he's just back to normal, but I do firmly believe that if Rashford can start contributing, whether it be assists, adding goals, and I've always said the main thing with Marcus Rashford, you know, I don't want anyone now to be, Kev's got an agenda against Rashford. It's never been that way anyway. All I ever do on here is just sit and I try to comment and say what I am seeing at that moment in time. And I've been on here and said that Rashford's decision-making is non-existent, it's awful, and we've seen that this season. There's been mixed messages from Rashford himself. I think there was an instance this season at the Stretford end when I think we all wanted him to shoot, and he tried passing it to Bruno, made a mess of it. And, you know, the Rashford of last season would have put his foot through that, but that comes with confidence. You know, confidence comes from scoring goals. That's what Marcus Rashford is. I want to see him get back on the goal trail, you know, because I support United and I want him to do the best he can for Manchester United. I want to be happy. I want to be on fan forums discussing Rashford, the resurrection of Marcus Rashford. But, you know, week in, week out, I find myself constantly kind of criticising him and saying he needs to be doing this better, that better. He will know himself. He doesn't need me to be sat here telling him. But I think I speak for a lot of people when I'm saying that.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, outlandish. I'm not like saying something for clicks or anything. I want him to get back to his best.
Yeah. What I'll say is Marcus Rashford, and I've said this before as well on shows with him going out. I always say to all my friends and even on shows that as an athlete, you should do things to express yourself off the pitch that help you, uplift you, and put you in a good mood. Long as it's not hindering your performance, you should do it. If Marcus Rashford feels like he needs to go on a drive in his McLaren, then so be it. He needs to go on a drive. That's something that he enjoys. We do that. You love a glass of red wine.
Oh, yeah. And the rest.
Maybe not one, maybe
bottle
a
of red.
a bottle of red,
yeah.
right? Different people enjoy different things. Yeah. And if he wants to do that, he's well within his right. In terms of what he makes, whatever. Look, the club have given him, we all know that he's a poster boy. He's come straight from Carrington since an absolute youth. And this is the Manchester United story. You know, like you have the American dream, you have the Manchester United dream from the academy right up to the starting 11, being almost one of the biggest players in the world, right? In terms of name and brand. He's that person. And it's an absolute shame that he's not got the form right now. Yeah. He's an extremely explosive player. He can score loads of goals. Whether he peaked last season or whatever, you have to be a good enough player to be getting 40 plus GA. That's point blank period. Whether you're the worst creator in terms of as a winger, whether you're the worst finisher, to get 40 plus GA in any competition against any team at this level, you have to be a good enough player. Yeah. There's definitely a fantastic player in there. And my thing is, I never want any player to leave Man United. Everybody wants every player to do well. And we have, just as much as anyone, a right to an opinion, and we have the right to criticise a player when things aren't going well. And other factors involve this. Yeah. It involves what you see in the report. It involves a chain of events. And we sit here, and it's not to belittle any player, but just to be honest.
It's constructive criticism. Whereas other people will use that stick to beat us by saying it's toxic.
Yeah.
You know, there is a huge difference. You know, if you can back up an argument, rather than just say, let's just say, for instance, Marcus Rashford shit, and that's it. You know, right, okay, well, why is it? You know, give me, you know, a list. You know, give me some bullet points. You know, try and make me get inside your head as to why you don't rate Marcus Rashford. You know, I do, and I picked him as me one to watch. We both agreed on that then?
Yeah, Marcus Rashford. The next one that we picked is, well, you picked, sorry, is Rasmus Højlund. Tell me why.
Did I pick? I thought I picked...
no, I tell a lie.
Is that you?
McTominay, yeah. I picked Rashford. I'm looking at the wrong
See,
one.
this is how Ricky's got into my head now. Have you see
Scott McTominay.
I know he wouldn't have picked Rashford, but yeah, I've got Scott McTominay in there. But I'm looking at certain games, and you know, he has scored big goals for Scotland. I know he scored goals for Manchester United. I'm looking at this evening and thinking that I've seen McTominay and the way he gets forward. Listen, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I just think for this evening, I've kind of singled him out because I think he's going to be an important part of that midfield, especially when you look at Eriksen being in there. I think we all know after kind of half an hour or so, depending on what type of game it is, Eriksen's legs, you know, might start to tire. And I think McTominay is a vital cog in the engine of the midfield area this evening.
Seems like to be anyway.
That's why I've selected him. I think something could happen this evening with Scott McTominay.
Yeah. Couple of super chats I want to address, but just quickly I'll tell you mine. Obviously, my player to watch was Marcus Rashford, just like Kev's, but I also picked Rasmus Højlund, especially because I'm not piling pressure on him, but he's got 3 goals in the Champions League, and that's absolutely massive for any player, regardless of what age. And there's a goal drop for him, there's a service drop for him in the Premier League. And he's working extremely hard. You can just see it on the pitch. He's really putting the effort in. He's actually a very top-class professional. He shows us a lot of love. You know, he gave me an interview. He speaks to us. Overall, I'm really, really happy and proud that we made a signing like such. So I've got him as my player to watch. And
It's mad to think he's 20
It's
years
actually mad.
old.
It's crazy.
You know, when you see the size of him.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
He's crazy. I used to say, you know, Haaland is a freak of nature. He's a specimen. And so is Rasmus Højlund. And we've got our own. I do think that we do need another striker to come in so that it eases the pressure of Rasmus a little bit and he can get to learning of an experienced striker as well. But I'm hoping he's going to get a goal and continue this Champions League goal scoring tally because it's a proud thing.
He doesn't have that hanging over him in the Champions League, whereas the Premier League now, as a goal scorer, it will be coming into his mind. Every game that ticks over, you've got people going, oh, he's the next Diego Forlan. No, I'm sorry. You know, this lad is by nowhere near the finished article at Manchester United. So much to learn. He's got players around him that need to learn his game because we haven't had a player like this for years. Somebody who's prepared to run the channels, make space, can hold the ball up. So I think once the front three kind of click and he's got that settled front three, it can only be, you know, nothing but good things for Manchester United in that attacking area. Yeah.
A couple of super chats. Let me just address them. And then I've got another thing for all you people watching, all you fans watching to do in the comments. So I'm going to come to that. Super chat from Chris, who's a member as well. Thank you very much. Says, bring the youth in. Straight away, bring the youth in. He wants to see more academy football players of Manchester United, Carrington players play.
I get that. Listen, it's a comment. It's usually a comment that we'll throw out. When you think back to the past, we got beat like 7-0 by Liverpool. That was between United fans, it was the final straw. It was just like, play the youth team, get rid of everyone. You know, at least the youth team will give us some kind of passion fight. They'll know what it is to wear the badge and that. I get that, but listen, you know, it's a massive game this evening. We can't just, you know, rip it up and play the youth team. We are on the back of a 1-0 win at Fulham. We need to try and build confidence. At the same time, I'm not saying that Fulham was like some, you know, brilliant game of football to watch. For me, it was papering over the cracks again, and we are still waiting for United to put in a performance this season.
I remember under Ralph Ragnick, we had this conversation amongst fans in Old Trafford when I was going to game that bring the youth in. But I'm a huge advocate of protecting our academy players. I have first-hand witnessed what they did to Alejandro Garnacho. First-hand. And I would never, ever, ever want anyone, because I go to the youth games, oftentimes I bump into some of them, I would never want them to go through any of that with Alejandro Garnacho.
They need protecting.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for that, and I will always be. And the thing is, we have to understand, they are on social media. This is something we must accept. It's a huge part of football now. This is part of football. We must integrate it and accept that Amad Diallo's, and he's not an academy player anymore, but the Garnacho, the Kubi, Dango, they're on social media.
If you look in stark contrast, let's say somebody like Ryan Giggs under Sir Alex Ferguson, you know, Giggs coming through was already, people were labelling him the next George Best. You know, he's this number 11, flying winger, skills. Sir Alex Ferguson did have to look after Ryan Giggs. He had to rein that in at a certain state because he was so young and because these headlines were coming out. But totally agree. You know, a Ryan Giggs bursting through on the scene now, players, you know, they are built up. You haven't just got the headlines. Like you say, you've got social media, you know, people will interact with them, whether they choose to read it or not, but they're propelled to a different universe and the levels of money involved as well, because clubs want to keep players like a Garnacho, don't want to lose him for free, don't want to lose it to someone else. So they are given a lot of money, you know, and stuff like this. Far more younger than what players used to, you know, back in the day. And that's because it's totally, the landscape of football has changed totally.
Couple of more super chats. Thank you all for your super chats today. Really appreciate you. Let me see. Soami says, we should rename the club to Nepotism FC. We don't reward players in form, clearly. Interesting one.
Right.
I think that's the manager, you know, trusting his... Look, the manager hasn't had the best start to the season, but you can't just chop and change the lineup all the time to be giving people chance because someone's out of form. You have to let a player dig himself out of the rut that they're in. What if, right, it was this game that turned it around for Marcus Rashford? What if? And yes, you are right. We will never know, because what if Marcus Rashford doesn't turn it around and it continues, right? Or he does. We don't know. We'll find out. But it's a risk that the manager has to take with senior players. And that's how football is. You have big players in that changing room. And yes, Varane may not be playing, and he's one of them. But the likes of Marcus Rashford, who can score goals, the likes of, Anthony, who didn't have a great last season, but he did get some numbers at least. It's important for those, Bruno as well, another one who's a big topic of discussion, that he should be dropped for other players. He's a captain. How would he feel? He almost has to trust his gut instinct with sticking with these players to see if they can deliver. The season doesn't start until February, right? We've still got Christmas. We've got a huge run of tough games in over the Christmas period in December. Maybe, just maybe, if we get out the group stage and we get some players back, that the players start performing again. And it only takes a couple of games to start getting a rhythm and momentum. Like Pep Guardiola said about Manchester United, that we just need momentum. So it might just be that. But I do agree that Erik ten Hag has got certain things wrong in terms of substitutions, for example. He used to be very, very stubborn. I have an Excel sheet. I told people, I keep a record of these things. Last season, he would constantly take off Anthony, but he wouldn't take off Rashford. This season, he wouldn't take off Rashford in the earlier on, but then all of a sudden there was a particular game where he started bringing off Rashford in the 60th minute. And I was like, 60th or 70th minute. And I was like, okay, this is a big change. Now he's starting to trust the other players a bit more. It has to be a gradual process rather than a click of a finger and someone's dropped simply because they're out of form, because it digs them a hole even more. It's like Andre Onana, right? Palace game, we thought Bayern was going to play. But now look, he's got loads of confidence, made some good saves against Fulham. Copenhagen made a penalty save. You want him to build from that. And I'm sure that'll be the case with Marcus Rashford as well. Let me just see a few more super chats as well. Jagadesh says, 3 a.m. here in Malaysia. Let's hope it's worth the sacrifice of sleep. Important game today. I'm feeling good about the squad. Thank you so very much. Alejandro says, you guys really make these match days worthwhile. You've built a great community. Let's be positive and let's go Reds. Well, I'll tell you what, we're part of the community just as much as you. I always say I'm no better off than any of you, and it's all credit to, obviously, the gaffer, our gaffer, Mark, who's built the community, the producers, Kev, everybody else, and especially you all, because without you all, this community would be nothing. Bran Muffin says, imagine if you swapped Anthony for Doku. How would Anthony do at City and how would Doku do at United? Well, you're opening a conversation that probably needs a show of its own, dissecting players. What if Grealish came here and Rashford went there? What if Kevin De Bruyne came here and Bruno went there? What if Maguire came here? And what if Maguire went to City and John Stones came here? What would have been? I
think a lot of players would fit in at Manchester City because they have a system and a style of play. I think that's why teams like City and Liverpool are able to bring players in, because they already have this. Players have to get on board with the system and style of play. But once they're in that, they take to it. Somebody like Calvin Phillips is obviously struggling to get into that team. But I think the other way round, it doesn't really make much of a difference at this moment in time because we're failing to see the style of play at Manchester United. Yeah,
a few more super chats as well. Thank you all. Let me see. Have I missed any? So we've got Saleh says, why is Rashford not dropped the same way Anthony is? Big question. Look, think yourself as Marcus Rashford, right? I'll talk to you. Think you're Marcus Rashford. You've got 4 EGA last season. How many months of credit do you think you've got in the bank for this season?
Well, we're only, 10, 11 kind of games into the season,
game week 11 and 12.
In the Premier League.
Yeah. So what is it? 4, 8, 2, 3 months in? 3 months in?
But in his defence, is anybody else challenging him? Is anybody else laying down some kind of gauntlet and saying, this position's mine, you're not? Is he being kept out of this team?
Very good point.
Is a Garnacho, a Palestri, an Anthony, are they actually nailing down a position in this team that gives Ten Hag this headache where he goes, I'm sorry, Marcus, yes, you scored goals last season, but You know, at this moment in time, this kid Garnacho or this kid Anthony, they're ripping it up. I cannot get you in this team until I rest one of them, or we come into a cup game where I want to give them a rest. I'll have a look at you then and bring them in, because what do? Competition for places at Manchester United in key areas, it's pretty non-existent. You know, we talk about favourites. You can pick a lot of these players, but it's not on form, is it? We don't look, and you say you're only as good as the last game, but I've just said earlier, apart from the Crystal Palace game in the Carabao Cup, we've not been great in many games, and there's a lot of games we've made hard work of where we should be kind of laying down a marker to the rest of the Premier League, but we're making hard work of it. Hopefully we turn a corner this evening.
And it's also what the manager sees in the training ground. We only see 90 minutes. That's a good point.
Yeah,
we do see the most important bit, which is the game, and so does the manager. But the manager's obviously working on things in the training ground where he's thinking, there's a reason why I'm going to continue to play Rashford. And look, another thing as well, the players that we have to swap for Marcus Rashford, who do we have? It's not Anthony, because he's on the other side. So it's Jadon Sancho's not here, so it's a shame. It's Pellistri or Garnacho. Or Martial or Mason Mount. Now, why he doesn't use Mason Mount on the right is the biggest question of it all. I would love to ask him this question, because he can play on the right. He can play numerous different positions, you know, middle, right, left. Pellistri and Ahmad, these two, I will say, some will say they deserve a chance to start, and I agree, in certain games. But they also don't deserve pressure. I know Man United, you have to deal with the pressure, but not like this. For any young player, this is one of the things why I hate that Rasmus Højlund starts so many games. I would like another striker to come in and take some pressure off him, because over the course of the games, if things are not going your way, as a young player, it can demotivate you and actually hinder your growth. Yeah. And also, as a young player, you need to come into an environment which is actually flourishing, so you can learn good things off the other players. You're in a positive environment. As a young player, if you're coming in a situation where things are not going well and you're expected to perform, yeah, sure, diamond comes from the dirt.
We're pinning all our hopes on Højlund, and we knew that in the squad. When we spent so much money on him, we knew he wasn't, he's certainly nowhere near the finished article that we hope he will be one day. But you're quite right in saying, wouldn't it have been nice to have another striker who was scoring goals? We bring him in, integrate him, even bring him on for half an hour here and there. But now he's one of the first names on the team sheet. And he's not doing much wrong. He's not getting any service, really. You look at it and think, you kind of feel sorry for the lad. He comes off against Fulham at the weekend, you know, he's shaking his head. I don't think it's for being brought off. I think it's in his own head now. This becomes a psychological issue of another game ticked off, no goal. And that people look at stats, don't they? They will look and say, you know, he hasn't scored, and it's a tough one to play. It's just a shame we haven't got somebody else to kind of bear the burden and take a bit of the heat off him, because, you know, it's massive pressure on the young lad.
RS7 says, Kev might be a popcorn addict, but he's got great football mind.
What does that mean, a popcorn addict?
I don't know. Do you like popcorn?
I do, actually, yeah.
Have you posted it? Have you posted a picture of you having popcorn before?
I don't know what I'm falling into here. No, I don't think so.
I got it.
What is it
I
from?
know what it is.
The forum?
No.
No.
Your nickname. What's your nickname
Mark?
that Mark gave you?
Well, God knows. Oh.
Do you get it? Kev might be a...
Right,
They got sorry,
yeah.
Kev. They got us. They got us.
Oh.
What is the nickname? Go on. What is the nickname?
It's not a nickname that sticks, right?
Well, it's clearly sticking.
I'm not supposed to be speaking about this. I've told you before, it's in the hands of my lawyers that instructed me to say no comment. But for the sake of this show and the entertainment of everybody else watching, it's not porno, Kev, anyway, because it's... Mark's already stated it was another friend from Ireland called Kev, and everybody put 2 and 2 together and got 5. So let's swiftly move on, please. Popcorn, Kev.
They got me. I'm dyslexic, so I'm very easy to be told.
I'm disappointed in you, Faz. You've just set me up big time.
But he's put the popcorn emoji.
Right.
So I just fell for it. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. Needed a laugh.
You do so well.
United Nate TV says, I think we'll get the result, but I think they will play through our midfield. Scott gets so high up the pitch that he can't recover defensively. one thing I tell you, with that midfield, Scott McTominay, Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, if I see Christian Eriksen in the defensive midfielder position, I will lose my shit. I will absolutely lose, because that's just setting him up for failure. I'll be deadly honest. He's
going to get overrun.
He's going to get overrun. And they have some technically good players.
We know that.
Who are good on the ball.
We played him at Old Trafford, so we know kind of what to expect.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I remember when Anthony was suspended that Erik ten Hag used the diamond system and he played Eriksen in the DM and it didn't go down well. He did that against Brighton, if I'm not mistaken. Can't be making these mistakes. No. And I hope that, yeah, we might end up winning, but it might just open us up to more goal-scoring opportunities for them, and that's something that I don't want. So we'll see what happens.
An early goal this evening would be nice.
Yeah.
I keep saying this every week, but if I said it before Fulham, and we got it. Obviously, VAR ruled it out because of Harry Maguire's head or whatever, the size of. I don't know. Anyway, VAR. But I mean, just looking at it, it'd be nice to get a goal to set the tone for the game and see how this group of players actually can then in-game manage a game, actually leading. Yeah.
Another super chat, just a couple more, and then we're going to wrap up. Stuart says, Rashford came in under pressure and flourished. They are pros. There is always pressure. The excuse that we don't want them under pressure is a cop-out. You either got it or you don't. End of. Stuart, you know what? That's a very fair point. I'll take that. I just like to have a bit of balance of Marcus Rashford. When he came in, it was because of an injury as well from another player, so he was just thrown in and he just rose to the top. But also don't forget, he wasn't given minutes straight off the back as well. They eased him in. And that's what I want. And right now, things are not looking well for Manchester United anyways. But you have a very fair point that if you got it, you really do. And there's one more super chat here. Kate Abdo says, you guys are looking very handsome. So thank you very much, Kate. I really appreciate that.
Is that your burner account, Faz, or what?
Have you seen me typing?
No.
Might be a secret admirer of yours, because you've got many of them, don't you?
Well, I don't know about that.
But lastly, look, before we leave, I want all of you to drop a flag emoji in the chat, and also when this video takes you to Mark's video, drop a flag emoji in the chat of which country you are watching from, because I just like knowing where all the fans are, and there might be the odd flags that we see and we don't know which countries people are watching from. So do that for me, please. Thank you all very much for watching. Kev, score prediction finally.
Manchester United to win 2-0.
2-0?
Yeah, I'm going for another clean sheet,
Okay.
The good vibes carry on.
I'm going for Manchester United 1-0.
1-0.
I'm excited. I'm ready.
Is that a cautious 1-0? Is there such thing as a...
I'm a cautious, because my logical hat says Copenhagen are no pushover. Beth just told us a stat. They've only lost twice in that stadium.
There'll be some atmosphere as well.
And it'd be a mad atmosphere. So 1-0. Who's going to score? I think Rasmus Højlund scores. For you?
I've just got this. Well, I picked my ones to watch earlier. I'm going with McTominay and Rashford.
Yeah.
I've got after the week with the Rashford kind of thing, the injury, all the stuff in the background. I just think the fact he's brought him back in today. He's dropped what we consider one of his favourites in Anthony for him. So I'm expecting good things. I don't know why. I'll probably set myself up and I'll be sat in the fan forum later on going, but. Listen.
Let's see. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate you. Mark is now live. This video will take you straight to Mark's stream. So hang in right there. And I will see you on the forum along with myself, Kevin, Mods, and Double A as well. And hopefully we get a win. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to drop the flags when you go to Mark's stream. Take care, everyone. See you on the other side.